This episode was made possible by my generous supporters on Patreon.
A Chansey operation!
Synopsis. Well, it seems the show has abandoned any semblance of map continuity, and we now find ourselves in Celadon Clone 1/47, and Pikachu, what exactly are you doing, Pikachu? Oh, dying. Got it. I'm sorry, it's probably the most overused gag in the entire internet reviewing sphere outside of putting in clips from unrelated shows, but I can't help it fits, shut up. Anyway, yes, Pikachu has kickstarted the plot by becoming sick. Again. And Ash once again portrays his defining characteristic, being an idiot with the best of intentions.
Hold on! I'll get it out for you, Pikachu!
Yeah, that's okay. I didn't need those functioning ball joints in my legs anyway. Waste of space, the pair of them.
So of course they rush to the nearest Pokemon Center with the fastest coconuts they could find strapped to their feet.
What our heroes don't know is there's no Pokémon Center around for miles.
What? No Pokemon Center for miles? What kind of sense does that make? Even Lavender Town had a Pokemon Center. My city's pretty small, but it has over 60 different vets, and we don't even have animal wrestling as an official sport. Even podunk towns have vets. This is so contrived. Well, okay, I'm just going to assume that this large city has an obscure law regarding the placement of Pokemon health facilities that's never been repealed in a country where Pokemon is clearly a major source of government funding. Okay, I call Bouffalot on this whole stupid set of circumstances. Yep. So, there's no Pokemon Center for miles, and Ash is all, quick, let's head into that Pokemon Center for people.
You mean a hospital?
Sure, why not? But oh no, the hospital is closed. Boy, it's a good thing no one ever gets sick on the weekend in the Pokemon world. Side note, there's actually a reason this isn't weird. Wait for the trivia. So anyway, Ash is all, open the door, a closed building that has no reason to have people inside. Sanctuary! Sanctuary! Luckily, there is someone inside who apparently lives there.
Just getting to sleep.
So Ash is all,
You gotta help me out. I'm in need of desperate medical assistance.
and the doc's all, and Misty's all,
Come on, buddy, remember your hippopotamus oath. Wait, why are you looking at me like that? Oh, Mew and Arceus on a bike, not again!
So yes, the doctor takes creepy pity on Misty, and he's all, now tell me where it hurts, lol, Misty, and I'll make it all better. And Misty's all, Ash, plot, now! And Ash is all,
Please, sir, I am but a small child, and my pet mouse is ever so dying.
and the doc's all, dang it, kid, I'm a doctor, not a Chansey. You see any pink hair up here? Take that rat to the Pokemon Center and let me creep in peace. And Ash is all, it's not my fault your city has no government facilities. Hey, our charter allows for more personal accountability and free market competition. Now get lost, kid. And Misty's all,
Oh, jeez, here we go for Pikachu. Please, mister, I'll be ever so grateful.
and the doc's all, why not? Humans, Pokemon, we all have organs, right? I'm serious here. Lots of Pokemon don't. Does it have organs?
Last I checked.
I'm on it.
There's something stuck in its throat.
And whatever it is has a heartbeat, apparently. That's disturbing. Anyway, now that the battery tester I keep next to the operating tables has established he's running flat, I conclude that in order to dislodge the thing in Pikachu's throat, we need to recharge him. And Ash is all,
That don't sound right.
and Doc's all, I'm not a freaking joy, take what you can get. So they shock Pikachu back into consciousness, and Doc's all, okay, now that you've regained consciousness, it'll be easier for me to stick my hand down your throat without being shocked. Oh jeez, I'm not a good doctor. So the blockage is revealed to be an apple, with a heartbeat, remember? The Pikachu tried to swallow whole. How did he get it in there? Can Pikachu just snake their jaws open or something? Anyway, Ash is all,
Thanks, Doc. You saved the day, and there's even 15 minutes left in the episode.
well, thanks, kid, but geez, take care of your own Pokemon. Why'd you let it try to eat the thing whole?
It did it on its own.
And Doc's all, what, you've never heard of a thing called negligence? Anyway, don't get too excited. My arc isn't completed and I'm expecting a plot call right about...
Ring, 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 phone call, phone call, phone call. Hello, hello?
Hello, Nurse Joy.
Wait, what the heck? Why is a kid answering the phones at the hospital? Wait, are any of you precocious child prodigies who can't buy beer but can prescribe drugs? No, we were just let in by this guy who was apparently sleeping here. Arceus Proctor's there. Fine, here's the situation.
It turns out that there's been a horrific accident on the motorway involving a truck carrying lots of Pokemon, but suspiciously no people are severely injured. Hilariously, Team Rocket are involved as well, and in a rather awesome background gag, we see that they were hit while pushing a handcart, apparently. What were they up to? So Nurse Joy's all, because we
we are apparently the only Pokemon Center in the city, and we're miles away, which is really, really stupid, but that's just how it is apparently. We're going to have to send the spares over to you temporarily.
Why? Don't Pokemon centers have teleporters? Why don't you just send them all to another city? Why were they being transported on a truck anyway? They could have just used a PC.
Look, in case you haven't noticed, the city is severely underfunded. I'm actually calling you from a phone booth with a fake backdrop, if you must know. Now, are you going to help these Pokemon or not?
I will, if we can go get pizza. Later.
Alright, you know what? You just lost your choice privileges. They're on their way.
And Proctor's all,
Well, can't blame a guy for trying.
I don't like this guy. He sounds like me.
So the Pokemon show up, the twerps are battlefield promoted to assistants because apparently none of the hospital staff can be contacted after trying to get hold of none of them, and they're all given oversized lab coats except for Misty, who gets a perfectly fitted nurse's uniform. Perfectly fitted for a 10-year-old. Moving on, there are some nifty ailments they have to fix, such as a Cubone having a fractured skull, to which Proctor prescribes superglue and a bandage. I'm serious.
Repair the fractures with superglue and apply a bandage.
Yes, I know he means the helmet, but it still sounds bad. Then he prescribes superglue for fixing Raticate's shattered teeth, which is a bit harder to justify, before turning the charm on Jessie.
I'm Dr. Proctor. How about a pizza with me after I finish treating these Pokemon?
You know that's not my real name. Want to know why the ladies call me that? Sorry. So he convinces Jessie to help out using his weird bedroom eyes that make him look more like a Trigun character than a Pokemon one, to be honest, and more hilarious hospital hijinks ensue with Ash using frankly rather medieval forms of anesthetic at times. Until Jessie's all,
Hey, James.
yes, Jessie?
We are the bad guys, right?
I think so, but it's so hard to tell sometimes.
Well, let's make it easy for the audience this week.
Oh, lovely. So they bind the twerps with customized gurneys that they invented in their spare time. Yes, they actually say that.
We concocted these while you were busy tending to all those poor little Pokemon.
And it looks like they'll get away, but luckily there's a great callback to Island of the Giant Pokemon where it's shown that Arbok and Weezing aren't bad, just their masters. Then Proctor is all, my doctor's spark has been reignited. Now get out of my hospital before I pull a Dr. Steinman on your pretty faces. While seemingly referencing Trigun again. Team Rocket flee, Proctor seems a bit more motivated, and he's all, hey, you guys make great doctors. What do you say, want to be my assistants and skip 9 years of medical school? And Ash is all, nah, being a doctor would be too dangerous. I want to be a pro animal trainer. And Misty's all,
Not with you, you sick pizza fetishist.
and Brock's all, ha, imagine me as a doctor. How weird would that be? Thoughts? There were some great ideas, cool scenarios, and decent jokes in this one. Too bad it sucked pretty much everywhere else. On paper, this seems like an episode I would absolutely love. It goes into how the world works. It's a simple premise with tons of creativity poured into it. Some of the jokes are awesome, with Brock's self-loathing jab and the way Ash delivered this line being my favorites.
Misty, you've got a knack for this.
Thank you, Doctor.
Well, knack.
Team Rocket are used well, involved in the main plot, and even begrudgingly help the twerps, my favorite thing for them to do. The episode has a great theme, that of selfless service, that's focused on with Proctor's arc and reflected and strengthened with the Chansey Arbok confrontation near the end. Oh yeah, as well as that, they introduce a new character that actually gets development and a nice little arc. Good grief, now that I think about it, this episode almost runs the checklist of how to get Suede to give your episode a good grade. So what went wrong? Well, the episode may be ticking all the right boxes in overall plot, but it also ticks two major boxes in the stuff Suede can't get past list. The first of these is plot holes. I'd like to personally apologize to Jigglypuff, firstly for punching it in the face repeatedly, but secondly for saying its episode had plot holes I couldn't get past when I didn't know how good I had it. This episode is pretty much equal to Hypno's nap time when it comes to inconsistencies ruining the experience. I've talked about episodes being plot Swiss cheese or a plot pumice, but this one is more like a plot window, with the solid frame being the only thing stopping it from functioning as anything but a hole in the wall. The setting was great, but there are no Pokemon centers for miles in a large city? They couldn't think of any other reason for the gang to be in a human hospital? How about Ash chokes on something, Proctor fixes him, and then the crash happened like right next to the hospital and they have to keep the Pokemon stable until the Joys show up? The problem is that still wouldn't explain why Pokemon were being transported in a truck or why Proctor couldn't just call in some staff. I'm sorry, maybe it's subjective, but I couldn't just hand wave it. It caused my frustration to go way up, and that caused my enjoyment to go way down. Call it nitpicking, but if Luke Skywalker landed on Alderaan with no explanation to be trained by Yoda, I'm guessing you'd be pretty distracted and annoyed. However, let it not be said that I don't acknowledge the target audience. I've only gotten one It's Just a Kids Show comment, and I want to keep it that way as long as possible. This show is aimed at kids, and they are more likely to gloss over stuff like that if the actual content is entertaining. I don't remember being bothered by this episode or Hypno's nap time as a kid, though they definitely weren't my favorites, and I do remember Hypno's nap time being dumb. So although the previous point would be a serious mark against an all-ages cartoon, it isn't necessarily a mark against a kids cartoon. You absolutely shouldn't skimp on quality for kids, but you do have to keep your audience and your demographic in mind. Unfortunately, that's the other problem with this episode. It's inconsistent with the feel of the series as a whole. Remember all the way back in episode 4 where I mentioned that it seemed like the show was suddenly aimed at preschoolers? This one, although not as egregious as in that case, still had some elements that seemed to break from a perceived series Bible. There were these weird transitions that had never been used before, and there were a couple of jokes that, while not bad jokes, still seemed very out of place. The show up until this point had been pretty consistent with fantasies being fantasies and cutaways not crossing over into the real world. But here we have Chansey seemingly picking up a police station and we have no indication as to whether it's real or not. I guess it seems like the writers dismissed anything that didn't fit as, it's a kids show, they won't care, but stuff like that can affect engagement, even with kids. Now, I mentioned all these nebulous elements that I have to defend through my own perspective, but there are also some pretty objectively poor elements here too. The pacing in particular is really slow, with sentences being said just a half second too long after you would expect them to be said. It made them sound like an early voice-acted video game conversation where each clip takes an awkward second to load.
If you had waited any longer, serious respiratory complications would have arisen. You were just in time.
Sorry.
Just a moment. I found something.
What is it?
It's a weapon. It's really powerful, especially against living things.
It also drags a bit in the middle, and the good doctor is way too creepy, even if he doesn't explicitly come on to Misty like Mo did in Beauty and the Beach. However, even with those long-winded criticisms out of the way, I can still see the good in what they were trying to do, and I can't fault the story at all, even if the setup is so frustrating it makes me want to bite something. I'll give it a C-, perfectly serviceable and even good in places if you can just access your inner child and block out the stupid plot holes. Trivia. This episode has quite a bit going on actually, and some of it is fascinating. First off, you may have noticed I only gave passing mention to the fact that the hospital was closed, something that's unheard of in my country and many others. The reason I didn't fly off the handle at this is that in Japan it's actually quite common to have some hospitals that have evenings and weekends off. Of course there are still emergency hospitals, but remember in the big cities that might just mean going an extra block. Why Dr. Proctor was sleeping there is a bit harder to explain, but doctors are known to come back to work on days off to finish outstanding paperwork, so maybe that's what he was doing. Now, Dr. Proctor. In the Japanese, he was originally called just Dr. Doc, or Doc Sensei, which I kind of prefer as I know a proctor is another profession, but it just reminds me too much of proctology, if you know what I mean. However, one thing I found out explains why he looks a bit different compared to the other character designs in the show. He's based on a real person, George Clooney. No, I'm not joking. Dr. Proctor is based on Doug Ross, Clooney's character in ER. The best part is that the voice actor who played Proctor, Rikia Koyama, also dubbed Dr. Ross in the Japanese version of ER. Isn't that awesome? Too bad Dr. Ross was a children's doctor and Dr. Proctor seems to love kids a bit too much. Speaking of the doctor's romance habits, his fondness for pizza is actually, I kid you not a localization. He invites Joy out for pizza in Japanese too. That's neat. I just wish he wouldn't phrase it like a euphemism.
Would you be interested in going out for pizza Saturday night?
Now, despite me thinking it was a little out of place, the gag where Chansey keeps bringing Meowth random stuff is quite clever on both the dub and the original side. See, in Japan, a popular gag is for a straight man character to continually misunderstand what someone is asking for and bringing them more and more unusual things. We actually have these gags in English too, like in this famous sketch from British comedy legends The Two Ronnies.
4 candles.
4 candles?
No, 4 candles.
Well, there you are, 4 candles.
No, 4 candles. Handles for forks.
In Japanese, Meowth wants his koban, or coin. Chansey brings him gohan, or rice. The Meowth's all, not gohan, koban. That's goban. That's koban. That's konbang. 4Kids actually did a pretty good attempt, but couldn't figure something out for the Go board or Venonet. I personally would have said something like, get my charm, go, go, for the Go board, or you better not get something stupid. I said better not Venonet, or even stop bugging me. But they did their best. If you want to see way more Japanese gags like this, I recommend Shirokuma Cafe, an utterly charming and adorable slice of life anime which has one of them nearly every episode.
あ、白熊くん、カフェモカちょうだい。え？それはちゃぶ台。それは宿題。それは兄弟。ちょうだい。ね。
Lastly, this episode holds an interesting distinction in that this episode actually contains the first ever Western appearance of Porygon. Right here! Yeah, I know, right here. Such grace, such majesty.
Welcome, traveler, to my green room. Here you'll find all the information you need to fight the demons of ignorance and despair. This is my assistant, Dogasug. His backpack provides me with all that I need, with comparisons to the Japanese episodes. What's that? How could a man with such a voice be trusted? You wound me.
All right, class, settle down. Yes, I know you're all very excited to be giving Suede your money so he can keep making videos part-time, but we need to be using our inside voices today, okay? Now, let's all just take attendance. Could you all just...
All right, shut up, you filthy Weedles!
Thank you. Now, we have a lot of money to process, so let's get attendance out of the way. Just raise your hand when I say your name, okay, class? John? There you are. Sorry about your parents only leaving you one name, dear. Joelle Young? P.O.B.? Joel Schuler? Gray Morality? Allison Bennett? Kurine? Hi, Kurine. Noah Davison? John Gutierrez? Joey Bennett? Jonathan Powell? Evan Bow? Matt Stores? Clayton Goodman? You don't have to answer, honey, I see you. Henry H. Gelly Elfson? That's great. Now we have some wonderful guests for you to meet today. Mr. Goleniewski will be coming by shortly to give us a demonstration of how to cut your hair with a straight edge and a bottle of blue raspberry soda. Mr. McGowan will be teaching us motorcycle maintenance and what it means to be a rooster in an increasingly non-rooster world. Then we'll have a break and the amazing Dino will show us his card tricks. Then we'll head to the field where Mr. Zidell will show us his thestrals. Now, has everyone here seen Death? Well, those who haven't, please report to Principal Gangle for a brief discussion before we meet the thestrals. And then just before we go, Colleen French has a lot to teach us about rocket mobility. Now, tomorrow you'll hopefully be taught by Loomsy96, Taking 101, Elia Rivette, or Claire Jessene Ryan, but their contracts are still undergoing disputes. Lousy superintendent. And so, Suede is ejected from the hospital due to his illness being completely undiagnosable, and he heads onward, eager to ease the pain in his heart. Perhaps this is the kind of pain that can only be cured by the love of another.
Are you sure you should be poking it like that?
Who's the doctor here?